how to envision your dream life so strongly it becomes reality. In this video, I'm not gonna say, hey, these people became successful by this, or hey, the successful traits of these super, rich people, wealthy people, whatever, right? These are the 10 steps they did to get to wherever. No, the value in this video is you're gonna see another person, and I'm an average person, so another human, right? How they achieve their dream life 3 separate times. And honestly, the key secret is so simple, which I'll get into, but the story of getting to the end, that journey is so crucial to understand that simple flip of how everything can be done. So I'll start off with my first dream life, beatboxing, right? So as a beatboxer, it's basically making music with your mouth. I started off middle school age times, just doing the thing, learning it, dilly-dallying, right? Just, screwing around with it, lack of a better term, right? And I didn't think much of it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. How do you do it, to my friend? And afterwards, I was like, okay, cool. Like the basics were learned, but this video is important to get detailed. So I'll walk through exactly the step by step. So I asked my friend who him and his brother did a talent show. They did like Super Mario Brothers, a cover through beatboxing on stage. It was basically two guys going together, which kind of sounds like like this. I was like, yo, that's so cool. How do you do it? So the basics he taught were like, BT, like boots and cats. Like, I couldn't do it for the life of me. This is important because what I learned as the basics in my own version was, and as much as that means maybe nothing, right, from a specific perspective, from the overall perspective, it's taking that first step of, it was me being inquisitive, right? I was just being myself, being open to what is out there, and then being receptive to, oh, well, why can't I do it? Why not, right? So I asked, right? And even though I couldn't do the correct, optimal, perfect first step, right, that everyone in the industry says is what you need to do, right? So there's like advice when you're starting a business. It's like, hey, make your LLC, right? Have a tax identification number. Oh, you need to create business cards. You need to create a, unique domain handle across all platforms. And like, there's so much setup, right? But you're not actually transacting value for dollars or giving anything to anybody. You're just kind of setting up that foundation. So similarly, when it comes to beatboxing, without getting too much into the weeds of everything beatbox at least, right? It's about those basics, those 3 sounds. You can use those 3, because it's basically like a drum, hi-hat, snare into any type of, routine or like, arrangement. So I'll give us like 10 seconds of, few different beats that we can do with those 3 sounds so it's understood like why this matters. So for example, if you have, reggaeton beat with those 3 basic sounds, you can get, which eventually with more technical sounds can become, right? So that's like a bunch of different sounds for a similar type of beat structure. So you can imagine everything else, drum and bass, techno, EDM, dubstep, all these type of, arrangements. You can use this same kind of structure in different permutations and combinations. So all of this to say, it went from inquisitiveness to me a few days later after learning this initial thing of moving to India for high school. This matters because I basically was quote unquote, alone, you could say, from a mental perspective, new culture. Yeah, I'm Indian, but that doesn't mean, I'm raised there and everything. So I'm more an American who basically showed up to this school. So the point is, after getting there, right, what happened is it was like, okay, cool. Like now I'm here. Now I'm just doing this to myself. But it was an international school because it was English speaking and I just came. So it was like a better way to transition. All those, amazing, honestly, it's a blessing, right? Versus maybe being elsewhere. But you learn lessons as you go through different stages of life. So there were a lot of Koreans at my school because at the time, Hyundai, LG, Kia, Samsung, Lotte, all these guys were wanting to leverage like software engineering, IT capabilities, where that stereotype of, oh, all Indians do IT. Yes, like it's a huge skill of the economy at the time. And yeah, like AI happening now is a totally different topic. But the point is, there was a way to leverage cheaper resources. So that typical outsourcing framework from quote unquote a developed country to developing countries, or whatever terminology you want to use, right? But that's what was happening. So a lot of native Koreans would come to India, and so their kids, they went to the same school. And at that time, lo and behold, right, this is like the first inkling of, preparation creates that opportunity. This is not exactly that because I was just screwing around. I wasn't trying to prepare for anything. But since I was beatboxing in the capacity I could, at the time, unaware to me, South Korea was going through its own hip hop boom, and beatboxing was a part of it. So lo and behold, me beatboxing, then I got closer with the Koreans, and we were kind of sharing how to beatbox together, and me learning from them, even though we didn't speak, the same language, because they really were Koreans from Korea, and me, American, English as a first language. It's like we don't have any commonality or common language to conversate, and so beatboxing became that shared passion, and then friendship after it, et cetera, et cetera. So this story is going from, okay, step one, don't know jack, right? I'm just doing something, right? But then I started learning a little more. Now the flip happened when I realized something that matters to me, which I didn't realize at the time. So I'm giving that extra nested level reasoning. I care about, when I say community, I'm very social, extroverted, all those things. I'm like, yo, let's have a good time. What happens, right? Because outside of having resources or, in other words, money, right? If money, you take everything out. I always say, like, you could have all the money in the world, and I've met people, but you could be the number one grade A asshole, and nobody wants to meet with you, conversate with you, even deal with you, right? But then you could be the guy with nothing, right? But you're such a jolly guy, fun guy. And I've seen individuals in that position, right? And I've been there myself, where I didn't realize it at the time, but I was like, oh, people like, in Gen Z, I think they call it aura. I'm not Gen Z. And I'm not saying I have aura because it's like in millennial talk, it's like, hey, I'm an alpha male. If you say you're an alpha, you're not an alpha. So the point is, I think I was getting some of that, benefits of having aura, I guess, in person. I didn't realize why, but I guess that's aura because you're not trying, it just happens, right? But it happens because I had my inner self sorted, and I don't need anything from anyone else, which is really the aura of this person exists and everyone's looking at them because that person's really not trying to take or really, have or steal or grab or whatever value from those around them, right? So beatboxing went from me then understanding there's a community online. And online, we have forums, like kind of like Reddit, more text forums back in the day, where you talk about stuff, and then technology got a little better, where there was a software called Ventrilo, where you can basically press control on the keyboard, you can go like, you're like beatboxing, and then the other guy is like, replying, responding, and you kind of meet people online this way, right? Today we have Discord, where we have VChats, video chats, different channels, so many things, and back then it was very basic, and it's a whole thing, right? Like Skype was a thing back then, so there was different softwares along the way, right? And this matters because that was my understanding of, okay, there's not just me, there's a lot of people, that are learning, that are trying to do the thing, right? Then there's videos on YouTube, tutorials. I was like, yo, this is sick. It's not easy, but you're like, the sense of fulfillment came from this thing. Now, my dream, right? This is kind of the step one, right? And I am sharing lessons along the way because it doesn't make sense if I just tell you what I did, right? But like, if I tell you later what I learned at this step, it's just confusing as a storyline. So the point is, I basically was like, wow, the world champs of beatbox, they happen in Germany. Let's not get into the reasonings of whatever, right? But that's basically what it is. And I was like, wow, it would be amazing to go there. But immediately the limiting assumption / limiting belief, right? That assumption in my head was what? It was, I didn't know anything. I was like 13, 14. I was like, I don't know how people get to Germany. Maybe it's expensive. It's impossible. And that it's impossible phrase stuck with me, right? And I was like, it's not possible. But one day, right? That was the dream. One day, one fine day. So lo and behold, it basically went from me wanting to meet certain beatboxing individuals, distinct like celebrities, like from Hollywood. That's what I wanted. I wanted to meet them. But why do I want to meet them? Because I respect and love their music, which I would then also try to copy, right, with my mouth. And there are events called beatbox battles, which is kind of like the two ways to say, one is the official ranking system. The other way is, hey, after you beatbox for some time, the testosterone goes away. I'm kind of revealing, like, after your teenage years, maybe you skateboard a lot, right? But maybe you don't when you're older, but some people do. But when it comes to battling, it really is like you want to win it. Later, you're not like, maybe I want to win it, because the community, we all know each other. There's no reason to be like, I'm the Olympic champion of figure skating for my country. Like, it's not so deep, but it can feel like that based on the story you tell yourself, right? And so it becomes an excuse to just meet people. But then I was like, okay, we have a venue to meet, right? So the events basically go like, there's a central event, you go, it's a schedule, just like any show. But when you talk about a community, there's things that happen before and after the event, right? So as I was going through many events, right? So now we're at the stage of, okay, I know how to beatbox, like, enough and then some. And what I did is, this is now we're fast forwarding to 2014. So around this time, I'm in like my college years. And I loved beatboxing so much that in my high school, I created like a high school, like little beatboxing club. And then in college, I also created the first beatboxing club that existed. And what this all means so far is, what I went from a skill that was, basically just trying to learn it. Then I was really learning it. Then I became kind of serious about it. Then I said to myself, man, it'd be cool to compete in these things, right? And me, having a beatbox club or all these things, it's not because I'm president and founder. It just meant to me personally that I'm like, yo, this is just what I do, and it's cool that other people are doing it. Let me, keep on going, share the love. Why not, right? And the craziest thing is when you surround yourself with people that are doing the same thing as you, instead of you just getting better at the skill, you get connected, whether in your industry or outside, or just a different way of thinking, right? And obviously, if you're dealing with not great people, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself around, and that's not smart either. So it's kind of understood that at that point, I wasn't like trying to filter out bad people with priority. It was more like, hey, you beatbox, you're the best person ever. Was this my naive, kind of filtering assumption? And you learn lessons along the way that too. But afterwards, I basically competed in the American Championships of Beatbox. And fast forward, went to that event, more domestic events, then some international. But how did I do that? How I did it was, my basically why was, I wanted to go to Germany one day, right, to see, the Beatbox World Championships. And along that journey and over the years from that time to when I actually did stuff, so we're talking like almost a 10-year span, to be honest, right? Like within a 10-year span, there's so much change. So then you have events in Switzerland, you have like the Olympics equivalent in other countries like Japan or Poland, stuff like this. So the industry changed, but the skill is the same. It's just, think about if events go all around the world. My understanding is FIFA, like Soccer World Cup, goes, let's say, my understanding is there's a few games in America right now. I'm in America. Things are happening in terms of construction on the road to get ready for it right at the time of recording. But it migrates from city to city to city, at least in the US, and then it kind of goes around different continents or countries in general. So similarly, that's what it is with beatbox. So now, remember, my goal and dream was to see these places, to meet these people. Lo and behold, I basically was like, okay, now I have some resources coming in. So I got a job, I got some money coming in. But I was like, the level of what I want to do versus what I'm earning in terms of resources, and my bigger why of like family and things I want to take care about, like not just my personal life and my ambitions, I had a bigger why. I was like, all of this doesn't really make sense if I just earn money, spend it, go have a great time. Maybe there's pictures and videos to show, but like, what am I really trying to do? And that's when I realized, okay, it all comes down, let's say, to, you can say, making money as well as a byproduct of wanting what I wanted. So my biggest why was always to make money first. I always envisioned myself as a CEO, as a businessman, as an owner, as a leader, that type of person. Like, not because it's all about me, but I genuinely, the story I tell myself is, I was a follower for so long, and I realized I don't really like to follow. I don't think a lot of people just like to blindly follow. But I also said, hey, what am I bringing to the table if I'm not a follower? Hey, Mr. Mrs. Leader, okay, the guys at the top, right? Like, I can be one of you, and I'm not asking. I'm telling you I'm you. You believe it or not, I don't care. But I'm telling you I'm here, and this is what's going to happen, and let's make it happen. Because if you put me in the follower role, cool. But there's more value over here. That's it. Like, it's not about me being better at the employee level, but I'm telling you I'm the owner. So what do you want to do, right? It's having that owner to owner, because you can stand on your own 2 feet. You have your own power, courage, resources, experience to say, yeah, I'm not this guy, I'm that guy. And so that was what I always envisioned. And I think that's very important to this next part, because it went from me being, let's say, international champions of, I'm the Indian champion of like 2013 back in the day. So the point is, was top 10 in America 2016's range, stuff like this. But the ranking never mattered to me of being the country champ or that person who's posting on social media every day because this is what I do, I'm a beatboxer. No, I loved it so much, but I realized even when you learn everything, you realize, what do I really want? Where do I want to be? So I realized, okay, I'm not really the number one, like I want to beatbox. But since I wanted to see so many events, I was like, how do I do this creatively? So I have a main channel, this is the second channel, and in that channel specifically, when you talk about personal finance, stock market, crypto, credit cards, all these things, right? There's a concept of using points and miles and credit cards to travel for, hotels, flights, etc. And it's not about debt. It's not about you need to spend more to get these points. Like, no. But what happened at the time, and this is literally the step by step, like the sauce, I guess, right? So because I was into everything money, I was like, okay, a lot of what I want is really like not only in the US, like whether you call it real estate investing or our American market, amazing, beautiful, right? But what about the world and the experiences is what I wanted to see, and especially specific to beatbox. So I was like, how do I amass a lot of points and miles to go do this, right? Just for myself, instead of blowing like $1,000, back then before fuel prices and all this stuff, right? Being higher, maybe that is a round trip somewhere. Now it could be 1,500, 2,000, depends, right? Post-COVID world, pre-COVID world. I basically, overall, right, applied and got approved. I applied more, but approved for 20 cards in a year, okay? And when you know about credit card and stuff, there's minimum spend where, hey, spend $3,000 in the first 3 months and get this many, reward points. And those reward points can be worth X, right? Maybe it's a few nights in a hotel. Maybe it is, one-way business or a round-trip business class flight or one-way first class, right? But like my mission to order, right, MO was, hey, I don't care about all the luxury. I care about the capability, the utility. How do I keep on basically beatboxing and do the next thing that I want in this industry? And we're still in the first dream life, which should tell you something, that there's a lot of lessons learned, which is exactly how the second and third actually happened and became seamless. So what happened is I basically was able to get all these points and miles. Now, if you ask me how I was doing it, basically you could say back then, before they had laws for this more strictly, but I didn't know it was like a thing. I was like, oh, I'll just do this because why not, right? So Bitcoin was on the up and up. And I've been interested in everything that angle since before it started booming in like the 2017s periods, right? So I'm talking like even years before I'll be trying to like buy Bitcoin even if I have no money, but like a little, like, all these things, right? And I was basically paying with credit card, right? When you pay with credit card, there's usually cash advance fee if it's you're buying currency, but back then it was not considered a currency. Everything with like crypto, right? So I was able to just buy, sell, like literally buy $4,000 worth of BTC, sell it like the next second, and especially in an up market, it's like it kept on going. So I'm making money accidentally, not even trying. But what's being hit? My credit card minimum spend. And so buy, sell, pay off my card. But over here, yeah, if I made more money here, that's awesome. But that wasn't the focus. That still happened, and obviously could go down, and that's like the risk, right? But since I'm doing it so quickly, even if I lose a little spread, right, of percentage, the understanding, and I'm going to say the last part, probably maybe financially in this video, is just an example, right? Example, you spend $3,000, you get, let's just say, $500 worth of value. So that's 16.67%. If you throw away 3% in fees for buying and selling Bitcoin at the time, 3-4%, then what happens is, okay, you still have that spread of, for free arbitrage, right? You got, okay, 12%, or let's just say 10% still like benefit, right? So 10% pure of 3K is around $300. Times 20 cards, they're not the same offer and all, but you start doing the math, it's like, okay, you got X thousands of dollars of value. Now this value is not just for myself to go, like I can go around across the world for years actually with how many points and miles I accumulated. But coming back to Beatbox, I actually got to see how all these events across the world went, and my inner locus or focus or whatever the word is, right, assimilated is still not the right word, but it basically got pointed to say, hey, I am not a competitor, but this industry could be so much better. In other words, the events could be that much grander, better, seamless, safer, all these things. And I took all the lessons I learned from everywhere, from Taiwan, from Switzerland, from everywhere I went to, right, including the domestic US, and I said, let's do the best event ever. And we didn't do it just once, we did it thrice. And in that thinking of how far we came, like when you take a step back, right, started from nothing to then basically the Olympics of beatbox, right, multiple years in a row with the biggest of biggest names, and along the way I'm meeting everyone that I wanted to, period, right? And now they know me personally, and like I wasn't doing it for that, but it happened because my love was not just for me, it was to better the whole situation for a mutual love that all these people had. And there's nothing more, let's say you can say pure, right? It wasn't, eventually it was how do I make money from this as well, like managing people, can I do bigger events, affiliate income, videos, all those things, right? But before all of the businessy angle, it was like, hey, my inner core whatever, right, of me being young, like that was sufficed, I was fulfilled because I was able to do this. Like I won, like my dream life, like it happened because I was like, I'm here with these people getting to do this, with this, that, and the, you kind of understand, like it's insane. I can't even put it into words because you can't plan for that. It was, you thinking that something could happen, then it's impossible, then you take those next steps, then it actually happened, is like insane, right? And there's probably more details in that story, but I'll fast forward, and feel free, there's a link in the description. I'm happy to chat one-on-one, comment down below, happy to fill in any extra info. So Second Life was basically a mix between kind of like, there's beatboxing, right? And beatboxing, want to do it, want to, like, I love it, like it, gotta have it, that expression. But the second and third thing, right? It's kind of like multifold, right? Because there's parts where this credit card topic, it matters, because actually I loved it because of what it afforded me to do, and I loved everything around optimization of finances and stuff. So I was like, okay, like, I'm talking about these cards, I'm thinking about them all the time, and I'm also working in corporate America. So eventually I was like, how could I actually, be the guy behind the credit card? Like, is that even possible? Question mark, right? And I was like, when I thought about it and I realized, I was like, wait a second, I have all the skill set. It's a different industry slash same. It's like tangential industry. I was working in FS, financial services, but like pure bank, right? It's a banking like initiative. Then the digital side, I have some experience, but I have a lot of love and enough experience from like what I didn't even plan to be, let's say the end game or the next game. But me going to school, studying blindly, right? Getting great grades, great college, job, whatever, right? What I didn't realize at the time is that it set me up for that second part, right? It set me up for me being behind the same credit cards that I thought about and talk about and all these things. And on the main channel, I make videos, right? Like, we think about that level of what is this guy doing, right? Like, I got to that life of now I'm at the company that makes the cards. Now, there's a lot of lessons, right, that, are learned along the way of what you want and what you don't want. And I'm going to say that it doesn't matter, because right now it doesn't matter, because what you learn from there is only your own story, what you gather from it. So a quick example of me working credit cards was, hey, the bank that I was working at, right? You can look me up online and figure it out. But basically they, had their rules, and I made sure when I got the job, I said, listen, I don't want to get fired for any reason after the fact, over the fact that I make videos online. So I need, all the approvals. So I got human resources approval, legal approval, business approval, and everyone's cool, right? The only rule which makes sense was, okay, about our bank, don't make any videos because you have too much information. I was like, that's fine, not an issue. So I was, kind of making videos, and what I realized in my life, and this is more of, honestly, the lesson that I'll share here, but then I'll share, in a different video, maybe the lessons I, learned about my, hitting my dream life, right? Something like this. Comment down below if that's something that's interesting, right? So one lesson here for us is like, I was like, okay, wait, I have rules now of what I can say, how I can express, how I can talk. And when I realized, I was like, man, it's like a dream life, but is it really my dream? Is it my dream to do everything but not, talk about certain things? In other words, I felt restricted, I felt bound, I felt, why is this how it is, right? And you could say I thought it was my dream life. And yeah, I'm in every day, I'm in credit cards and all these things, but like, burnout is also a real thing. Like, we're also human. So between too much of the same thing, and now it's a job, so I'm still working for my, resources in the world, there's like pressure, because now you love something, but you have to do something, and like, there's that push and pull. It's not like I love it and I'm doing it out of my own volition. It's someone's also telling you, hey, you got to do this by this date, by this timeline, and you got to have these literally 50 people on board to do the same thing. And that's what I would manage. I'm a product manager, product owner is a role in the digital space. So, whenever you're applying for a card on the website, the app, basically it's not just me, right? It's like a team, basically, right? That's behind everything, right? Especially at that level. So that lesson aside, right? That's like, let's say dream life number 2. Now, what's crazy is I'm making these YouTube videos. This is the second channel, as I said. Now, dream life number 3, you could say, right, is imagine. Just imagine, right? You have your favorite, let's say, YouTuber, and you love YouTube. You love credit cards, and there's credit cards. And, you also now are, making videos, you're editing and all this, but you've been commenting, let's say, on their channel for years and years and years, and it's like, they acknowledge you and vice versa, and now you get to work alongside them, right? Like, you're not just meeting your idol. You're not just meeting the thing that you love. Now it's like marrying the both. And this is the craziest thing, because it's like dream lives of 2 different ones, right? Where the other one was like, I want to make YouTube videos. So like the third one I didn't even mention to you, right? But it's kind of mixed in here, is basically, hey, want to be a YouTuber, want to make videos. And it came from my own personal passion of always wanting to be an actor, something in the entertainment space, whether film, TV, commercials, Broadway slash theater, etc. Right? So YouTube is that way of saying, hey, I don't want to. I've been an actor, child actor, both in TV, film, and stage. But after seeing both of those realms, it's really a lifestyle commitment. You're either always on set or you're doing it, and I'm happy to. If I was alone for the rest of my life with no family, kids, no responsibilities, because that's like a better, reasonable, kind of just schedule of life. Let's just say, right? Where I'm okay to do it on my own, but yeah, like if you start including other stakeholders, maybe these decisions change, right? Whether it's what's convenient for them or you or what your life setup is, right? So totally different, nitty gritty talk and thinking and the how and all these implications, consequences, right? So YouTube was like, yo, I get to say, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. I've done that maybe years ago on the main channel. I haven't done that in a long time. But it's like, being able to express, being able to talk to the, camera, which I didn't know was a skill. Like today, now everyone, especially COVID, webcam, this and that, everyone's probably used to seeing their smartphone. But having this capability to be your authentic self, just talk, right? But if you met me in person, this is me. Like, I'm not like, like these are 5 ways that you can save your life. Like, I'm not doing all that nonsense, right? So the point is that I got to meet and work alongside with, right? With literally your celebrity idol. Like, that's it, it's period, right? But the amount of stress I felt. Because now you are creating the creation of which me, when I was a follower, assuming they're the leader, thinking that framework, I'm looking up to someone, and now you are the thing that you're creating the thing for that next someone that's you. And the pressure of that, because you're kind of like trying to help yourself slash appease yourself, satisfy yourself, like it becomes like this conflict of interest where it's like, it's like a lot. You can kind of see how I'm trying to explain it, and it's tough because you love something. Now you have to do like a business objective outcome, like black and white. Hey, this is the schedule. We need to edit. We need to post. This is what the effects need to happen. Hey, there's a typo here. There's a correction here. And there's nothing wrong with anything, right? But what I learned, right? I guess second learning is nothing but, hey, it is possible. Like, amazing. I'm so blessed. It was like the happiest moment of my life. And immediately the pressure set in, like the world was on fire. And that's when I realized my inner core self. I can work for someone, but I know which side I'm on, and I will create out of maybe data that's, given to me, or the market needs this and let's do it, or I'll be a broker connecting 2, 3, 10 different people to, make something happen. But I realize that I need to be running my own show, and not that I cannot follow, I can. But when it's something that I truly love and am passionate about, it's the highest level of fulfillment as a human, you could say. And that highest level of fulfillment is what? It's the story you tell yourself of what makes you happy. And what makes me happy is saying to me that, hey, I have these skills, I bring value, I can do it, I can help us all do it, but it's always like maybe me. And there's psychology around why this could be, I'm the eldest son, stuff like that, right? Which future video we discuss. But in the end, right, the dream life of what I was able to hit, right, was literally the steps of what? Being inquisitive first. So with credit cards, in the beginning, how I got in was I Googled, like, how do you save money while spending money? I thought it was a stupid question, right? But lo and behold, they were like, oh, there's a way to get up to 20% cash back when you spend, on certain things. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, but on a daily, you'll get 1x points or 5x points. And I was like, what is this stuff, I didn't even realize there was a whole thing behind it where I used to think you earn $10, you have $10, you go spend $10, you have 0. But in this case, there's something different. And I was like, oh my gosh. So the inquisitiveness of what attracts you can and should be, in my opinion, natural. Like, if you're trying to force yourself to do something, don't force yourself, but force yourself if you know why you're forcing yourself. So as weird as it sounds, for me, like if I needed to work a job after college, I didn't understand enough personal finance at the time. But I knew that, okay, this is the path, keep going, right? Then I realized, okay, great, right? So I was working hard because my why was strong. Then I saw the real black and white numbers, and I was like, this is not enough for what my, envisioned life, my dream life, right, would be. So how do I level up? How do I do better? All these things. So that's kind of the path that I took, right, is figuring that part out afterwards. But when when it's all said and done, like when it comes to getting that, credit card job, you can say like, oh, your dream life was to get a job. But I didn't look at it like a job. I looked at it as like a lifestyle, because there's like product refreshes the next year, what's on the roadmap, like all those things, right? So in the end, it was like, all right, I'm forcing myself because the why is big enough. That's all you need to remember is, if you're forcing yourself, your why is strong enough. If you're forcing yourself and you don't want to do it, then don't do it. Because chances are you going to be the number one in that, field or not? Where editing, I would edit, right? But if you ask me, do I, if you could wave a magic wand, I'm the number one editor in the world. If you tell me that right now, right? I'd be like, cool. But it's not like, oh yeah, like I was trying to do that, I'm striving to do that. No, like I don't care. I would rather delegate that job to anybody else, right? So apart from AI replacing thumbnails and can edit videos, let's not get into that topic. You literally thinking about your dream life, yeah, it helps. You manifesting it, it helps. But what are the steps to do it, right? In beatbox, there was no steps. It was me making my own path. So let's leave that aside, right? If it's YouTube, I love Graham Stephan. He's a personal finance YouTuber, and all these things, right? Like over the years of him posting consistently, I joined this program, like all this stuff, right? Just to learn more. And how can I do it? Because he had a program that was like how to get from 0 to 100K in 2 years. And principles have changed and all, but without him, I wouldn't be where I am. Where the main channel, it's monetized, makes ad revenue, all the things, and like affiliate links down in the description below, right? And even here, it's more about me sharing, like, hey, if it was my older self watching these videos, what are they going to gain from it, right? If you're watching this, I'm telling you that, hey, a kid can, go through random stuff and still end up at the top, right? Because if they want it, they'll get it, right? If you want it, you will get it. Nothing is impossible. You tell me, hey, I want to be a trillionaire, a billionaire, it's still not impossible. It's about how do you get there, right? Is there a path that's proven to become a 1 trillionaire, right? Without just owning a bunch of shares in a company or, all these things. Like, yeah, there's a framework, but there's also key of luck, right? And timing, which if you look at all of these, hey, it was the timing that I had moved to India to learn beatboxing from the Koreans that helped me still keep up with the hobby and then escalate me in terms of skill and augment my skill, right? All these things. And then even the credit card job was what? With the bank, it was me already working corporate, having experience at that top. If you know corporate, it's like management consulting, big four, your KPMGs, PwCs, Deloitte's, Ernst & Young's of the world, right? And then you have MBB, McKinsey, Bain, BCG. So when you have that experience, other people are open to you, right? And I didn't want to work at Goldman Sachs or, Deutsche or like all these like other places, right? Those are not, pure banks. They have other arms and, let's not get into that combo. But that was my basic target, right? But I wasn't going to get it if I just applied. I was prepared without realizing that I was prepared. You could call it a career step that I did, right? But it came from me having all the preparation for that moment of luck, right? So that struck. When it comes to YouTube, FinCon is financial convention. It's a physical event. I used to go there, right? Like years in a row, I'm saying. And the beauty is, yeah, you have a network, friends, you meet people. But what it also showed was, hey, this is the other side. This is what's behind the curtain. This is the reality of, just shooting the shit with, your favorite YouTubers or how business is, or hey, I know this guy who knows that guy and this and that. And like, that's where the deals kind of happen, because all of these things online is kind of the outward facing, but what is the strategy and then the implementation to target if you want to grow your channel, if you want to make money, you want to partner, you want to, whatever it is, like those are the places where the convos happen. And I basically got to meet and then work alongside and all these things with the top of the top. So all the dream lives are achieved. So if you can ask me now, like, what am I up to now, right? I feel like after you hit that, you kind of face this thing of like, what's next? Because you feel like you achieved it. But the biggest thing, which I said in the beginning of the video, right, is that when you now know this journey, the biggest thing I learned is the framework is the damn same. I'll repeat it. The framework is the damn same. What does that mean? That means literally if you actually have conquered the first thing, right? So let's say now I'm trying to work out, right? I'm trying to not just work out. My goal is, hey, I want to have like this fit physique, six pack, all these things. Am I doing stuff in my day-to-day to, go towards it? Yes. Am I doing what's actually needed with like that urgency? No, I know I'm not, right? But I want to change that, right? And I maybe document on the channel, right? So the point is though, if I know I want that result and I know what goes into it, there's inputs for the output. Yeah, we're all not all the same, our genes and our DNA and all, but it's more or less the same. We're all human. So what does that mean? That means that, this is probably one of the easier goals to hit because there's actually a proven path. Now, the inverse, right? So this part is going to seem kind of like sponsored, but like it is my project, hence I'm talking about it. So now what I'm working on is a 250 room hotel project, okay? It's open to investment. This is basically an opportunity for me to say, towards this end of this video, like, hey, there's an opportunity to invest. The construction has started. Investments start from 15K to 3 mil. There's 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. If you want profit sharing, you want to own a certain number of square feet, you can get like a function of how much you own and then income based on that. But the thing is, with construction starting, usually people are like, oh, if I, put money into a project, I'm waiting 2-3 years for the thing to be built. Then it has to actually be, in business, right? But there's a way to say, hey, you can get monthly income without waiting that long, but right now, each and every month. So there's a link in the description below. We talk one-on-one, 15-minute chat. It can go longer for a good reason, right? Or anything else you want to talk about in life, I'm here for us. But I'm concentrated on that because of all the lessons I've learned through, as an investor myself, stock market, crypto, real estate has been the bread and butter. And working a job is great, right? But JOB, you can call it just over broke, you can call it 9 to 5, you can call it a lifestyle. Nothing's wrong with anything, but this is what I'm concentrating on. And I know that the framework of getting all of these things prior, this is just one more thing. And that's why I think when people say, when I made my first million, it was crazy to understand that there were 25 other ways to make the next million and it was super easy. I'm telling us the same. When I realized that, hey, you have like a few grand and a few tens of grand, like tens of thousand, 30K, 40K, 50K, and then eventually if you have 100K, 200K, whatever, I'm like, dude, like making money, like to live and eat and shelter, it's on easy mode. Not because you're spending what you have, it's because you can make other opportunities from the money you have, right? Don't misunderstand, please. So all of that to say, in the end, if you really want something, you will get it, right? It's not that difficult, but you can see one part that is easy for me to say. I believe that I am gonna do it. That's why it's not that hard. I don't even think, do I not believe in myself? Am I skilled enough? Am I stupid? Like, no, like some people, like I used to give negative self-talk to myself too at times, right? I'm not perfect. But I realize that when I want something and I need it or whatever, like it's decided, it's happening, it's done. It's done. Like it doesn't mean like it's with me, but I imagine it as if, yeah, that's there. So we need to do this to support that because when that happens, if that happens, okay, but what if it doesn't? Okay, then these are the other steps, but these steps still need to happen. So like what happens usually is like you just need to prepare for the moment of luckiness or something to work out, right? In other words, you need to be positioned where if you're trying to get, I'll give a good example, right? Let's say you're trying to be sponsored by Nike. Just an example, right? Like Nike doesn't sponsor people, whatever, right? Some whatever reason. So if somebody says no, how do you get a yes? It's just about value exchange. It's just about saying, hey, Nike, you're like famous. But if you see Gen Z's sentiment, like example, like I'm just making this up, right? I interviewed 1,000 people to ask them Nike versus Reebok versus Adidas. Let's just say Nike wins 10% of the time, right? That's not great news for Nike. But then if there's a way, right, through your marketing efforts to say like this got this much reach is what people are thinking, I can also tell us why Nike is better than this, better than that. Like if they want that kind of cell phone, like T-Mobile versus AT&T, Verizon, these guys always like do that. Oh, we're better than the nation's biggest network and like those type of commercials. If that's something that resonates with Nike's, mission or the way they want to do business and you know that, right? Great, right? That's one way to pitch them, right? Through like a pitch deck of, hey, I have this many, followers. This is how many impressions we get every so often. This is how many views we get, and this is the type of, audience we have, the metrics, demographics, etc. You're basically just saying this is why we are the platform for to be sponsored, especially if Nike doesn't. But the real person you need to sway at the second, way to put it is the person who approves that funding for marketing. So if that's the, maybe not chief marketing officer, all of that level, but maybe there's an equivalent for the divisions of the Americas, EMEA, like Europe, and that area. And then you have Asia Pacific and stuff, right? So in the end, if you want something, it's not guaranteed, but now you have, let's say, the concept, you have all the numbers to back it. Nike may not, meet someone who has 100 followers only, right? Just for more of a reality scalable business from a process perspective, maybe there's a threshold. Hey, 100K followers, that too unless if they're a new account and they got it in the last month, then we really have to make sure what type of content they're, posting. But let's say it's 100K or a mil over the last X years, right? And maybe it all makes sense, right? If you look at all the other background check of that individual or all of the, videos that they're posting, because it is like brand reputation. But if you take away all the logical, obvious blockers, if you want it, you can get it, is what I'm trying to say. There is a way, because the path may not be there and you can carve it like I did. There is a path and you can follow it to become like this credit card job, which you can do. There's the YouTube side of things where it's like marrying two different dream lives, where that also is its own path, but also there's proven ways, right? But like, if you want to love my personality, or hey guys, I'm Mr. Beast, right? Like, that's great, but like, everybody has their version of what they, say is valuable. Like, I say I don't need all the views, is what I'm trying to say with the Mr. Beast comment. That doesn't mean that, the value I exchange, right, is because I've learned from other folks that post videos like this online on YouTube and other platforms, but especially YouTube. So I'm just giving back to the same community of where I learned it from. So yes, I'm not genuinely doing this for free, because there is that part, hey, I have an opportunity of investment, right? If that's something you're interested in, of course, that benefits both parties, and it's for the longer term. But I'm not thinking about the next project, I'm thinking decades out. At the same time, hey, eventually maybe we get monetized, right? If we say maybe, but in this channel, like, I literally have a goal in my head. I'm like, no, it is possible. And the mistake I made from growing the first YouTube channel was I was aiming for monetization, because I was being greedy. I was like, when we get monetized, it's gonna be awesome. I was working towards a wrong goal, but I was having such a fun time creating the videos on stock market, like options trading, dividends, how to do this, how to, buy Bitcoin for beginners. Like, yo, those videos, like, there's genuinely like a lot of learning, how to edit, how to just make a thumbnail, like all that stuff. Everything goes into it, and it's amazing when you're learning, because that's the dopamine of it, is you're learning. And that's the same reason I'll end this video with this one thing that you need to know is a lot of people have this phrase, it's like a unfortunate situation, right? It's called shiny object syndrome. And in English, it's a very corporate term, but it basically means, hey, I tried this thing out for a little, I went through all the trials and tribulations, I feel like fulfilled because I learned something. Like, it's basically like self-help videos. Like this video, I really hope you do not take it like a self-help video where you watch it and you don't do jack diddly squat afterwards, right? This is not like a sympathy type of video. This is how I did it. Go, you can do it too, but like, you need to do it for yourself for the right reason. I'm not saying everything's gonna be okay if you just, cuddle with your comforter, rub your feet together, as Rick Ross said, in your bed. And no, like, things do not happen. You got to get up and go do the thing. So the point is, right, that in the end, do not confuse it. That when you start something, you can start it, go, trial it out. But my advice is have a time-bound situation, or have a number of criteria as this is proof that I tried it. So a good example, don't post 3 videos on YouTube and say, this is my career and I tried YouTube and the platform hates me. I gotta get out of here, guys. Like, unsub, dislike, No, the truth is, I've been posting, if you can see, like by this video, it'll probably be like almost daily uploads for some time. And then I saw another guy where he's posting 2 videos a day, if not more. And I'm like, I kind of know parts of the algorithm. I'm not perfect, but I'm like, should I be posting 2 times a day? Like, I'm already thinking about the meta of, what could I do? I'm playing the algorithm game, right, basically. But instead of the goal being monetization, now the goal is, technically it is numbers. Like, hey, 100K subscribers would be great. And yeah, can I get them through a lot of crappy short subscribers where people watch shorts and they subscribe often? But the thing is, like, usually entertainment content, you can get that number. So if I wanted a number, I could do certain actions, but I want the number through, obviously, me seeing other people in the space. So like Martel Metalius, amazing guy. Like, I watched a video over the years and I was like realizing that basically he posts every day, and it's been a couple of years and he hit 100K, if not more, right? In terms of subscribers and time. And there's another guy, he's like a pharmacist, Stephen Win, he's like a Vietnamese guy, pharmacist, but he loves real estate, posts every day, talks about whatever his things are. And when I see these like proofs of there is a path, it's not perfect always, right? Like, Steven's been posting for a similar time frame, maybe 10K, 12K, 15K subs now. But, then the guy Jet Friends, and I made a video of him yesterday, that guy's at 200K YouTube subscribers over the last 5 months, if I'm not mistaken, something like this. So if you compare, cool, if you're trying to gain something from it, like what are they doing? So I learned from those first 2 guys, I said they kind of have this daily cadence. And they're not just posting garbage. It is good titles, thumbnails are decent enough, right? But the message is what matters, right? And on the flip side, you know, just because someone's racing that much faster, that's the algorithm. That's what it is. That's okay. It's like a slot machine. But this video could be the one that pops off. I don't know. But we need to be prepared for that moment of luck to happen. So there's that part of doing it, the consistency and discipline. But the true reason of the why, like why do you even get up to be disciplined and consistent, has to come from within. That is the key. So if that's the dream, that's the reality, that's what's going to happen, that's the vision, make it into the thing. Because final quote to end this video is, I'm trying to remember perfectly, right? Is a goal is only a dream without a plan. That's not how it goes, but you get what I'm saying. A dream will always remain a dream. Basically, it won't become a goal. You get what I'm saying, man. Like a goal is a dream without a plan. That's the expression. A goal is a dream without a plan. Because if you have a plan and you dream it, you will hit your goal. There we go. Thanks for coming to the end. Like, share, subscribe, all the things. I'll leave a video over here. Thanks for coming to the end. Peace, y'all. See you in the next one. Catch you.